Hey guys, welcome back. Besiege early access coverage. This is episode 17. I'm Enigmaeus, and today we're making a new leg. We have to make a new leg. This is the test bed, if you want to call it that I put together to test our leg that we built in the last episode that seemed like it could do very well for us if it was given enough opportunity to flex and stuff. So that was something that I was keeping in mind as I was building this. You know, what you're seeing is just the sharply abridged version. I tried so many different combinations. You can see I've got a square out of wood there, thinking that maybe that would be better than braces, that maybe a little more flexibility would help. It didn't. I had heavily braced, light bracing, all kinds of different things, and I had to slow it down almost to the point where it wasn't moving at all, so that I could kind of get a close look at what was failing and where, and it seemed different every single time I ran the simulation. You can see now. I mean, sometimes that's fun when it fails, and especially when it's in slow motion and you can see all the bits start to fly off and stuff. But it didn't really do much in the success meter for our whole leg project. Now, we still have the mechanism that provides the motion to the leg. It's very reliable, I guess you could say, in the sense that it provides motion in the direction and in the pattern that we're looking for, but now we just have to match it with a leg design that's actually going to survive. Easier said than done. Still feel very strongly that we need some kind of shock absorption, so that, because it's not just going to be sitting on the ground, it's going to be lifting up in the air and then back down on the ground and over and over and over again. That every time I've done any kind of build in this game where you have that kind of impact over and over, it's not very long before the entire machine comes apart. So we need to have something to absorb that kind of stress. And the design that we had from the last episode, it tricked us. It looked really, really good until it came down to actually testing it and making it hold together and do its job. And then it let us down horribly. So I'm changing up the design a little bit. Instead of having a more or less up and down leg that kind of arches forward a little bit, this one's going to be a much more exaggerated kind of elbow design, so that we can get the suspension, the little shock absorbing spring, into a position where it can actually do what it needs to do without promoting the destruction of the leg. And then we're going to test it with what you'll see is a obscene amount of weight, just so that we can see beforehand, you know, whether or not the thing's going to buckle at the first sign of weight above and beyond the weight of the mechanism itself, or if it has a chance to survive. Because at least this way we know if we take the design and we apply it to the mechanism that provides the motion and things still are flying apart, that it's not the leg design that's causing the problem. We will have to look at something to do with the mechanism that's making it go around in an oval. It's a very straightforward design. If you think of it like a rabbit's leg, where it's kind of hinged backwards to the way our legs work, and it's got kind of that elbow design, that's basically where we're going with this. You know, rabbits, dogs, cats, all kinds of animals have that backwards hinged design on their rear legs. And in this case, if we do it right and we balance it properly, we'll be able to have something that, you know, it's going to activate that spring, the suspension, to absorb the shock, and then maybe even give it a little bit of extra lift on top of that. On its way back up, kind of give it a little bit of an extra shove. That's not a goal that we have, but it is a spring, and springs store energy, and then they release the energy when they extend. So that's kind of what we're aiming for. Using, again, the hinge instead of, for example, a swivel, which I think is probably not as strong in this kind of application as the hinge, or a ball joint, which is, I think, kind of prone to wobbling in directions you don't want it to go. And then that's putting stresses on things that don't deserve to have stresses on them. They weren't designed for that kind of stress, and they fail because of the kind of thing that you chose. So this is the first test. Just drop it and see if it explodes. That's the experience that I had with the other leg, was, you know, just lowering it right down to the ground and starting the animation where it's not even falling and everything just kind of flew to pieces. That was my first sign that the original leg wasn't going to work. So this part of the testing process is just drop it from a small height and see if it explodes. So far so good. If you look at the design, the way it is now, it's very straightforward. If you follow the path of the braces, that's basically the leg, and then you can see where the hinge is, and then you can see where the suspension is, and that's the hinge is kind of like the elbow, and the suspension are the muscles that allow us to manipulate things around the elbow. Only in this case, the suspension isn't going to have anything to do with the behavior of the leg except to absorb some of the shock that it's going to be experiencing as we're making it walk around. So as long as the braces stay connected to everything that's in this design with a lot of weight on it, then we should be in good shape. So in order to test this, you can see I built a little base out of wood. That's just temporary. That's not an actual part of the leg design, but it gives us an opportunity to hold the leg in place when it gets set down on the ground. And then all of the wood that we're adding to the origin block, that block with the green borders, is weight that we're applying to the leg in the form of a bit of an impact because it is falling a short distance. And then hopefully, if everything is working the way it's supposed to, all of that impact and all of that weight pushing down is being absorbed into the suspension instead of being transmitted through the rigid connections in the leg and causing them to fly apart. So we started off with, I mean, just those 4 double blocks of wood. That's kind of a lot of weight. You might be surprised until you actually start playing with the game and getting a feel for it, if you haven't done so already, just how much weight that really is. And so we're just going to keep expanding. We're going to keep adding more weight and see how big we can get it. And remember, the farther away from that hinge we are adding the wood, the more the physics comes into play, and it acts like a lever that magnifies the impact of the weight. You can see now we're getting even bigger, even more wood. And when we start the simulation, very reliably, the leg comes down, it starts bouncing on the suspension, it stops, nothing is breaking, nothing is detaching, nothing is flying off. So far so good in terms of the ability for this thing to not basically destroy itself as soon as we start the simulation. That was the problem we were having with the other leg, is that it was just not doing a very good job of absorbing the impact to get things started, and just kind of shearing itself off from whatever it was connected to. So we might be on the right track with this one. So now all I have to do is go back to the drawing board, remove the old legs from that mechanism that we had, just a little box that we built that had the 4 cogs that create the oval shaped motion. Remove the old legs, install new legs like this, and then do some testing and see how it does. Really, it'll be a victory if we can just drop it on the ground and have it survive. That's basically it. From even this height, half a block high, if we can drop it, we're in good shape. Like, look at how much wood we've got on there now. And it's not having any problems whatsoever holding it up. And that's exactly the kind of thing that we need to see to give us hope. To give us hope that this whole project is going to survive. Now, it looked like one of the bottom braces attached to the bottom ballast block, the foot, if you will, may have just detached when we dropped that most recent one, but this time it held together, so we're doing not too badly. It's not going to. We're just about done. We're just about maxed out in terms of the weight that we can put on this thing, but already that's pretty crazy, the amount that we've got on there. So next episode, we'll have it back in the test bed. Hopefully we'll get it walking. That would be fantastic. Look at the thing. It's just a monster. If you want to be notified when I add that next video, as always, you can subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on social media. Links for social media are always in the information section below the video. There we go. Intermittent failure. Sometimes it survives, sometimes it doesn't. So we're at the maximum. Not bad. Please leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.